Hey, friends. Welcome to Dishing on Divorce Next Chapter on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, Podcasts, and TV. I'm your host, Lisa Lisser, CEO and founder of LZL Coaching, a boutique coaching firm focused on divorce, relationships, and life transitions. I'm also a divorced mom of 3 now grown kids. As a recovering lawyer, a current educator, a spiritual counselor, divorce and co-parenting coach, I'm committed to transforming the divorce experience for everyone involved. Now, one of the biggest fears of divorce is the unknown. Who will I be in the next chapter? How do I even know what I want when I never had to ask these questions before? Life was hard, but you're so afraid that it's going to be harder. So, who do you turn to when you need that emotional support and guidance through the turbulent waters of divorce? That's where coaches like myself and today's guest, Andra Davidson, come in. Andra is a collaboratively trained certified divorce coach and a mediator who created her Better Than Divorce program to provide emotional support to men and women navigating the challenges of divorce. She believes that everyone can come through divorce better than they were before and actively pursues steps to help each client minimize conflict, communicate effectively, and prioritize healthy co-parenting in the way that works best for them. Andra's clients benefit from her 25 plus years of experience in crisis communications, branding, and marketing, as well as her calm strength and commitment to tangible results. Throughout her career, she's worked to help executives, teams, and individuals communicate succinctly and with clarity, intention, and impact. And she loves using these skills to provide support and guidance to women and men tangled in the web of divorce. Andra speaks from experience. Her favorite pastime is enjoying her blended family, her amazing 26-year-old twins, 2 incredible stepkids, and 2 adorable dogs. Hi, Andra, and welcome
Hi.
to Dishing on Divorce.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you.
It's great to have you here, Andra. You know, we both have some similar backgrounds. And
Mhm.
um, what my first question to you is always the question I ask my clients or my guests. Why did this world of divorce coaching call you? How did you even hear about it? And what about this field seems to say, this is where I need to go next?
Yeah, I feel so lucky, Lisa. I actually, whenever somebody asks me about this, I always say I'm now doing the work I was meant to do.
Me
It
too.
took me, maybe a circuitous route to get here a little bit, but it is the work I'm meant to do. And my why, as you put it, is I went through my own divorce, as you indicated, as you read that, after 20 years. And I was one of those people who was really just knocked over by it, didn't want it, didn't see it coming necessarily, um, but was able to get through it in a way that I feel protected my strength and my peace, and my kids. And I worked really hard to do that and was able to establish a very positive co-parenting relationship with my ex-husband. And I started helping some other people, some friends, sort of informally. And one of my dearest friends, who is so strong and accomplished and confident in all these other areas of her life, started going through this. And she said, I just don't know how people do this without you. And that really was the why for me. There was this aha moment of, oh my gosh, I could do this thing that feels so fulfilling and meaningful full time. And I could give this support to people who are navigating this really challenging transition. So that's where it started. And I really have not looked back. It's exactly where I'm supposed to be.
That's amazing. And finding that niche is always so empowering. Like once you step into it, you realize, aha, this
Yes.
this is really this makes sense.
Yes. And it's a lovely, build on what I was doing because I was in communications, right? And I was helping people to handle crises in different kinds of situations, not necessarily a personal level crisis, but at the same time, how you process that information, how you communicate, how you choose to show up, is a through line that I continue, right? That's very much what I work with people on now. How do you get centered in the midst of this chaos that
Right.
divorce brings?
Right. It's really interesting because I had been working in spiritual counseling for a while and training in this idea that we need to separate our role from our soul. And,
Hmm.
what has been coming up for me a lot now has been this: the through line is who we are at our soul, and that speaks in each context. And so, yes, I might be able to find my voice and my soul in my business. So where is it when I am navigating my divorce? Why do I feel
Yeah.
so silenced? And
Yes.
that's what I try to open up for people. So,
Yes. I love that.
it's hard. It took me a long time to understand the distinction between role versus soul, because we think that our roles are us, right? So
Yes, we
we're a
do.
mother, we're a sister, we're a lawyer, we're a
Right.
professional, we're, whatever we are. But the one thing, the hub of all of that is our heart and soul.
Yeah.
So finding the power to recognize that is just amazing. So,
I really love that. I think it gets, you know, it there we build up walls around that throughout time and for different reasons. And so accessing it becomes very difficult, right? To access that heart in the midst of something that's really hard. And peeling back those layers to
right.
get to that is part of the challenge for sure, because we've learned coping mechanisms to put that second or to just, shelve it to the side for now, you think, right? Or for a time period. But then it eats away at you and you lose sight of that. And to
Yes.
bring it back to the forefront of who I am and how I choose to engage with the world is work, right? That just doesn't happen overnight. That takes some intention around choices and how is that person going to come back to life? How do I re-engage that side of yourself?
Right.
That's really powerful. That's very important work.
Yeah, it's really important work, and I know that that's really the core of what you do, is the uncovering of what's the power, the soul power of the
Yeah.
clients that you see.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm gonna go from, like, the deep and the serious to a little l cute, maybe funny, but real. You call divorce a shit sandwich, but you also note that it doesn't have to define you. So
Yeah.
tell us what that means. Like, we all know, like, what that means, but share that and how your own experience led you to what we're building up to right now.
Yeah. I started off sort of referring to it jokingly as a shit sandwich, right? But it always lightens the moment a
Yes.
little bit, right? And I think this process is so challenging in so many ways. Finding a little bit of levity and remembering that even in the hardest times,
Yes.
there are things that you can do to look at something a little different and find a smile, even if it's for 2 seconds. It does tend to reframe your perspective and lighten your weight, the weight that you're carrying around, even if it's just for that moment. So I like to remind people that it is a shit sandwich. It's honest too, right? That's really
Yeah.
important. This is not an easy process, and anybody, who's starting it knows that, right? And anybody who says otherwise, obviously, I don't think that's a very accurate
Right.
statement
Right.
personally, but it's difficult, and we can make it a little bit more digestible with choices that get us to that place, right? So I there are choices at every decision point.
Yes.
And I like to put that out there because I want clients to remember, I want anybody who's navigating this to remember that it doesn't just have to happen to you. You get to have some agency over how it goes. And that shift in your head around, okay, what can I control of this process and what can't I, is such an important place to spend a little time and effort, because it can feel out of your control and it can feel like it just spirals. But to take that step back and say, yeah, this is a really difficult, overwhelming process, and I'm going to look for the places where I can make it a little softer and easier and maybe find a laugh or two, is a gift to yourself.
Yes, it's 100% a gift to yourself and also to your kids. You know, like if you can take some moments and let go of the weight, then they're going to feel it too.
Yes.
And you know, you don't have to tell them divorce is a shit sandwich. That's probably not your best choice.
Depending on their age, right? They might say it themselves. Yeah.
Right, right. And you did say break it into digestible bites, and I was like going with the sandwich motif. So
Yeah.
that made me smile. But that's the thing, that there are moments that we can smile through it when we see some things that, like, we do control our thoughts. And, you know, I had a coach once who said to me, you know, your thoughts are just your thoughts. And that sort of blew my mind, because I'm like, wait a second, my thoughts are keeping me up at night. My thoughts
Right.
are preventing. And he said, that's right. And your thoughts are just your thoughts.
Yes.
So how do we help clients shift their mindsets to go to what's most important, what I can control, and stop fighting what I can't control? Like
Yeah.
that's
Right.
there's a
That's the
lot. Yeah.
$1 million question there, right? I think one of the most important things that clients can do is, first, when we're dysregulated emotionally, so, there's an intensity, right? You're not breathing, or you're triggered by something, or you're overwhelmed in the moment. That's not the time that you're going to be making your best decisions. And your first priority is to get yourself in a more regulated state. So, to me, the first step is to literally sit and breathe, take deep breaths, and calm your nervous system. Sometimes I realize when I'm anxious, my breaths are so shallow. I'm just barely getting air in, right? Or you're breathing rapidly. And when you actually stop and do, box breathing, or just simple, deep breaths with
Yeah.
intention, that will put you in a better mindset for whatever it is that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, step one, put yourself in a more regulated place, and don't pressure yourself to make decisions if you're not in that regulated place.
Mhm.
It's not a good place to make decisions from. So, step one is that, right? And then I really like to think about the fact that we get to prioritize. So, everything, in my experience, and what I hear all the time from clients, is that everything feels like a 10. Everything feels like a level 10, right? That it's all due tomorrow, and it's all intense and requires immediate responses.
Right.
It doesn't, which is nice. You get to say, you know what? It's okay if this doesn't happen till tomorrow. It's okay if this doesn't happen till next week. And that process of prioritizing and giving yourself small, digestible steps to take, so that you don't feel that overwhelm of that pressure to do everything at once, can make a big difference too.
Oh, it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. And those are exactly my cues to my clients as well. Is like, first breathe,
Yeah.
and it might even be before that, notice when you're feeling dysregulated.
Right.
Notice that your heart is racing, notice that you're starting to feel anxious, and pause. That's the moment.
Well, and we may not have been used to noticing those things until
Exactly.
this point. Yes. So taking a moment to say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that my heart is racing as I'm trying to make this decision," or "I didn't realize that I stopped breathing deeply, when I have this kind of a conversation." the first step, even ahead of doing the breathing, I love what you're saying, is the awareness that
Yeah.
that's impacting the way we're showing up.
Yes.
So that first pause of, okay, how am I taking an inventory of your own self? Am I in a good place to make a
Yeah.
decision? And if not, what do I need to do?
Right. And the thing is that's so challenging is that we can say to ourselves, I'm not in the right place to make a decision, but I have to make this decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what pulls us out of the breathing pause space
Yes.
back into the struggle. So maybe there is a decision that has to be made today. Let's get ourselves in a more regulated space, and working with coaches helps you plan for the decisions because there
Right.
really is no decision that has to be made instantly. And we know this because the court process just takes so long. We're
Exactly. I mean,
we're always waiting. We're always
we're
waiting.
always waiting. And even if you're in mediation, right?
Mhm.
You get to say, I'd like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's an option you always have, or 10 minutes. I'd like to take a walk for a moment. And
Yeah.
I think that sometimes it's so easy to forget that we do get to control that piece.
Right.
And, when you talked about what we can control and what we can't control, one of the things we can is our own space and time. And you can always ask, would this be an appropriate time for me to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Can I get back to you in 10 minutes? Chances are those decisions are not going to change anything significant, right? You're asking for minutes, you're not asking for months.
Right.
So give yourself the permission to
Mhm.
take what you need to set yourself up to make the best decisions possible.
Right. Right. That's amazing. And giving ourselves permission is a key here because I think in
Yes.
many cases people feel like this idea was not theirs. This is not, I don't have permission. I have to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
So the difference between I have to and I get to are really big things. So
Yeah.
let's rest on that. We're going to take a 30-second break to hear from our sponsors, and then I'll be back with Andra Davidson. And we're back with Andra Davidson, certified divorce coach and designer of the Better Than Before Divorce program. Um, so we were talking about these tools that can help people when they notice that they're dysregulated, and then breathe and pause to re-regulate and take a break if that's what you actually need to do.
Yeah.
You have permission for all of those things. So what else can we suggest to our audience about tools that help them regain calm and control? Are there like practical tools or mindset shifts that help people find their footing again when they feel in the chaos, maybe outside of the mediation space, but just the general chaos?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'll tell you, one of the things that I think can be the most impactful, Lisa, is setting some goals. Um,
Mm,
I really love helping clients to um, not only set goals for the divorce process itself, which I think is valuable, but then to take those and say, think about your life, a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road. What does that look like for you? Where do you picture yourself? What might you be doing? Are you traveling the world? Are you with friends? Are you in a new place? Are you at home? Are you engaged in a hobby or a job that you've always wanted to do? Asking yourself some questions that reveal some possibility and
mm,
show you that, yes, this is a difficult transition, and it may also really be an opportunity. And that doesn't happen overnight, that shift. And I'm not suggesting that, you go into it going, oh, this is the best thing. I'm going to transition to, the job I always wanted. I know that that is a leap from where most people are when they start the process. But what I love about the goal setting is that it does give you something to look forward to, a reason to keep your chin up a little bit and remind yourself that there are lights that come in throughout this process to keep you moving forward, right? And that there are gifts in the
Mhm.
strangest of places. There are gifts in the strangest of places, and using your mindset to help you acknowledge that and realize that and look for them
Yeah.
and can change your perspective in ways you might never have expected.
So, can you share an example from a client that you've had where they were in a dark place, but they started envisioning a new future and they had that shift?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I actually am working with this amazing woman right now, and she's in the very beginning, and she had her initial status conference yesterday, right? So she's really in the very beginning of the process, and she's so overwhelmed. And what we're doing right now is talking about breaking it down into those manageable pieces, right? So that's the first thing that we did is, say, you don't have to do all of this today. So we broke it down into those manageable pieces. And now she's saying, I want to look down the road. I know that this doesn't have to define me, but I'm really scared. She's 58, I believe. She has adult kids. One is getting married next year. It's a huge transition at this point in her life. But for her to find some optimism is giving her some strength, right? So part of what we're doing is saying anything is on the table. You don't have to make the assumption today that everything that happens is going to be bad for you. What if the assumption was that this might reveal something really amazing? She's wanted to travel. Her ex-husband never wanted to travel with her. What if she starts to plan? This is what we talked about yesterday. What if she starts to plan that first trip with her kids or a good friend or a family member to somewhere that she wants to be? It could be a year from now, but it's just this little thought of, I'm just going to start looking into some places. I'm going to start thinking about that. And it plants these little seeds of hope and optimism that grow and remind you that a future is out there for you. You don't know necessarily what it looks like today, and you don't have to. But just to remind yourself that I might get to do something that will make me feel good can be enough to give you a little lift on a given day.
Yeah. Well, the whole idea of planning for a future is really powerful because people are often sort of stuck in this is the way it is, this is the way it will be, this is the way
Yeah.
it always has been. How can I imagine something different?
Yeah.
And now they actually need to. So it's an opportunity that they never wished for, but might be the exact thing that they need.
Well, exactly. And I think what I like to remind people of in that moment is
Mhm,
that it is very normal to feel fear of the unknown,
mhm.
right? The fear is what paralyzes us.
Right.
It is unknown. It is scary. There's no doubt about it. I was terrified too, 100%. I had never envisioned my life different than,
Yeah.
I was in this family and that was going to continue. Um, and when I started that shift from, okay, it is a little scary. There's a lot unknown, and there might be some things here that I can be grateful for, and trying to find those as you go through will help you to live on the side of um, opportunity more than fear. It's not a switch that gets flipped and it all goes away, right? It's not linear. You're going to go back and forth. There's days that are better than other days, of course. But to start just letting in those little pieces of gratitude of okay, I don't actually have to deal with X anymore. This whatever X is, this situation, that situation, finding some peace in those moments, even if they're literally moments,
Yeah.
they
But
add up.
but it's the power of moments. And
Yes.
it goes back to your comment that breaking this into digestible bites. And
Hmm.
what that made me think about was um, James Clear's book, Atomic Habits.
It was one of my favorites. Yeah.
One of my favorites, and I come back to it again and again. And this idea that you don't have to do everything all at once. If you make a plan on New Year's Eve, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, go to the gym for an hour every day, chances are that's not going to happen.
Right.
What he suggests is I'm going to make a plan and I'm going to lay out some workout clothes. And if I put them on, great. And if not, at least I laid them out. You
Right.
know, I'm going to drive to the gym. I'm not necessarily even going to go in, because that one small step is the beginning of a practice, is the
Right.
beginning of like changing your brain. It's neuroplasticity,
That's right.
right?
It's laying those foundations that you build on.
Exactly. And if it means I'm going to take a minute to find some gratitude that I didn't have to share the covers, right? It could be a
Yep.
really tiny thing. I mean,
Yep.
it can also make you sad, and you can find the uncovering of what was really there,
Yes.
right? And so that's like a really big piece in a little small piece, right? The small pieces are what build into the life. Our life is made up of moments.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so what
And
yeah, go on.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say that, I think it's easy for people to lose track of those moments. And one of the ways to keep them is to just write them down every day. Like
Mhm.
what, and, whether it's a gratitude journal or a regular journal or anything where you give yourself space to just let some of that stuff out and make observations. There's no rule about what you need to write about or what the notebook needs to look like or the pen, which I think can be sort of in the
Yeah,
way of making that step, taking that step. So get a, school notebook, who cares? Get a pad of paper and write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. As simple as, I have a nice cup of coffee this morning. Whatever
yeah,
it is that just lets you find something to feel okay about before you move into the next thing. And it's little, but to your point, they do add up. They're made up of moments.
yeah, they're made up of moments. So let me go into this next idea about moments and bring it toward community, because one of the things that you do is group coaching, and you
Yeah.
have a new program starting in January of 26. And tell us a little bit more about what this could look like and what inspired you to create a group format and why that's important.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So I've been working to create this for a while because I find it so amazing that even at the numbers of divorce, right? For somewhere between 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. So pretty much everybody has at least been touched by it at some level, whether it's a relative or a friend or themselves. And yet it feels like the most isolating, lonely experience in the world. Everybody's situation is different, and you feel so lonely typically in the middle of all of it. Connecting with others who have been there and who can offer support and hope and optimism and a little bit of practical advice is one of the most valuable things that is out there, I think. So, my group coaching is an opportunity for people to connect with others who have been there. There's a 24/7 online support community with
Mm,
resources and the opportunity to meet and share ideas and positive support with others who are in the same situation. Weekly group coaching calls that are based on my Better Than Before Divorce digital course that I have, which helps you walk through some of the most common and challenging aspects of the emotional part of divorce. So, how to communicate, boundaries, conflict, triggers, how to talk to your X, how to, really handle the day-to-day practical things that come up. And it's available it's one price and you can be there for a year. Because sometimes you need to be in and sometimes you don't. You can take a little break, but the calls are replayed and recorded so that you can go watch what you need. You have access to the course, you have access to people, and it's much more affordable for people than a one-on-one coach, which, isn't necessarily what everybody wants.
Yeah,
So an opportunity to connect with people and get that support, in the way that works for you is what I hope will be a really great option for people.
that sounds amazing. Because it's so important to build community during this time of isolation. And
Exactly.
you also feel like you need to be careful about who you build community with because
Yeah.
people in your life have a stake in your divorce, whether you think about it or not, but
Yes.
your social group has a stake in it. If you are the first ones to get divorced, then there can be a stigma around that, and people can feel like they have to choose sides. And so who you
Yeah.
share your story with is really important. You need a safe space.
Oh,
And
yeah. Support system is so important, and not just any, to your point,
yeah,
but the right support system, because people do bring their own divorce baggage to that conversation or their interest for you, right? They're probably team you. And that's great. I mean, we want that. But on the other hand, sometimes that can be overwhelming because they give you advice that may or may not be appropriate for your particular situation,
right,
and that may throw gasoline on a fire that you're trying not to create.
right.
So thinking through that is really important, and it's one of the reasons that I really recommend people get that professional emotional support, not just the friends, which are, and I don't mean to disparage it at all. It's essential, but I think it needs to be complemented with some professional support.
Yeah. And I would agree with that because our friends care about us, but our friends also can be threatened by the things that are happening in our lives. You know,
Yeah.
my story was we were the first, and there
Mm.
were people who saw cracks in their own marriages that wanted to not be close to us because it reflected on them.
They were afraid, right? That goes back to that fear. They're afraid if they sort of open that door, what does it say about their own
Right,
situation? And they may not have the wherewithal to connect those dots at the time. And it doesn't really matter, because all that matters is how they're showing up in the relationship with you.
right,
And that relationship is strained in some way for you because you don't know what's happening for
right.
them. And so getting the support that you need without any of those barriers in place is really, really valuable.
So if I can identify some of your tools, we have notice when we're feeling dysregulated. We have breathe and really
Mhm.
calm down your nervous system. We have deciding what you get to do and thinking about what you do have control over, as
Yes.
opposed to what you have to do. Taking breaks when you need to.
Yes.
Finding the right support group, whether it's in a coaching scenario or another scenario, and
Yeah.
also recognizing that sometimes those groups, many of the Facebook groups that I see, wind up being places where everyone throws their anger and their negativity. And maybe that's not the right space for you either. So, trying to assess which are the groups that are lifting you as
Yeah.
opposed to bringing you down.
Yeah.
And then if you cannot start with individual coaching, group coaching is available. And
Yes, it is. There are options for everyone. And I really understand that people learn differently, they interact differently. Some people want to connect with others, some are more private. And that's why there are options. And I definitely encourage people to find the thing that feels like the right fit for them.
that's amazing. Thank you so much, Andrea. It's hard to believe that we're already almost done.
I know.
It went so fast. I would love you to share, how can people get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So the easiest way is the exactly what you just put up on the screen there, my Better Than Before Divorce website. You can schedule a call. You can learn more about group coaching. You can subscribe to my newsletter, which is weekly, which is called Divorce is a Shit Sandwich. And in that, I share some resources and answer a question and a blog post. So however, that's really the easiest way. I'm also on social media, and it's all the links to that are at the website. So I would say visit there to start. It's probably the easiest, most expeditious route to everything you might want to learn.
Great. So Andra Davidson it's Andra at betterthanbeforedivorce.com, and the website is betterthanbeforedivorce.com. Thank you so much. This is really helpful. And again, we want our audience to know that there is the appropriate help out there. Pause, take a breath, and then step in. Um, I'm Lisa
I
Lisser.
love that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Lisa Lisser, and you can find me at lisa@lzlcoaching.com. My website is lzlcoaching.com, and I offer complimentary 30-minute consults. So if you have a question, give me a call. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Dishing on Divorce, next chapter.
Thanks, Lisa.